Thank you for joining me for the LinkedIn webinar. I'm Karen Durkee, the Director of Social Media at Corporate Gray, and it's my pleasure to talk with you today about using LinkedIn in your job search. In this webinar today, I'm going to show you how to use LinkedIn to get noticed, get connected, get opportunities. And although this webinar is geared toward transitioning military, I think any job seeker will benefit from this information. First, a little bit about Corporate Gray. We help military veterans with their career transition and connecting them with employers through our website, our job fairs, and books. On our website, you can have a free account, upload your resume, and search jobs. And recruiters use our resume database to find candidates that match their company's needs. We also host virtual job fairs to connect you with recruiters, and our next nationwide online event will be on October 19th. And these are the companies in this list that will be participating in our October 19th virtual job fair. You can see that besides listing each company's jobs, we also include this LinkedIn network link for each company, and that takes you to LinkedIn and runs a people search to show you who you're connected to in that works at that company. We do that to encourage you to reach out to your LinkedIn connections who work at the companies you're interested in before the job fair to learn more about the company from an insider. And we'll talk more about that in a little while. Corporate Gray also publishes this military to civilian transition guide that steps you through the transition process, and it gives you a lot of advice and resources. And the link here, and I also put it in the chat box, takes you to the free online guide. And we also have a social media guide as well. Besides working at Corporate Gray, I'm a military spouse. My husband retired several years ago, and I also grew up in the military. My dad retired when I was in high school. So I've been through the transition process a few times with my family members. And to those of you on this webinar who are military and military spouses, I want to thank you for your service. You don't need a social media expert to use LinkedIn. When you create your account, the website steps you through building your profile. So I'm not going to go into those basic steps that LinkedIn steps you through anyway. What I will show you today are ways to beef up your profile and use LinkedIn to make your job search more effective. And if you're already using LinkedIn, I hope to show you ways that you hadn't thought of for using it in your job search. And I do recommend using LinkedIn's Help Center. I found it to be very useful in finding answers and explaining the features of LinkedIn. And I'll show you how to get to the Help Center when I go to my LinkedIn account. Also, you can just Google your question or search YouTube because there are tons of video tutorials out there to help you use LinkedIn for your job search. Or connect with me on LinkedIn, and I'm happy to answer your questions after the webinar. LinkedIn also has a veterans page that has a lot of helpful information for your military transition and using LinkedIn. And also, if you go to this veterans page, you'll see how you can request the free upgrade that they're offering to veterans and military spouses. And that free upgrade is, I believe it's still for 1 year of their premium account. And that's a $30 a month value, and they're offering it to veterans and spouses for free. And it gives you some of these additional features that can be helpful in your job search. I'll point some of these out as we go, but my account that I'll be showing you on LinkedIn is just the basic free account. I, of course, want to just quickly touch on account security because, as with any online account, security is important with your LinkedIn account. So keep in mind these best practices for your online accounts. And it's important to explore and understand all of the settings and especially the privacy options on LinkedIn. So I'll show you where to find those settings when I go to my LinkedIn account in a couple minutes. Now let's get to it and explore how you can use LinkedIn to build an online presence, that professional presence online, grow a relevant network that can help you with your job search, and find job opportunities. And of course, another big reason to be on LinkedIn is because recruiters are using it to find candidates and it's working for them. So let's start with the first one, getting noticed, building that online professional presence. Um, Most likely, when your resume comes across a hiring manager's desk, one of the first things they're going to do is look for you. They're going to Google you, look for you on Google. And if you have a LinkedIn account, that will come up high in the Google results, which is great because that really shows your professional presence. And also, they'll be looking for you on LinkedIn as well. They'll be putting in keywords that they're, those skills that they're seeking. And if you have those keywords in your profile, you'll come up in their searches. You're much more likely to be searchable. So I'm going to show you how to work that. And then besides just beefing up your profile, it's also about sharing your expertise on LinkedIn and building some content on LinkedIn. So we'll talk about that as well. Some important real estate on your LinkedIn profile. I'm going to touch on all of these to really help you beef it up for your job search and make you searchable. Really, what we're trying to do is optimize your searchability so that you do come up in people searches. First of all, customizing your profile URL, I'll show you where you can do that. So when I first created my LinkedIn account and when you created your LinkedIn account, it gives you this unique URL that points someone to your profile. And it takes your name and adds lots of random characters after it because it has to be unique and it's creating it on the fly when you create your account. So you want to customize that URL and clean it up. So my URL now, I've customized it. I took those random characters off and I made it end with just /Karen Durkee. So it's recognizable, it's professional. People know when I share this LinkedIn URL, they know that they're getting my profile. If your name is taken, you might have to get creative, maybe put some numbers after it or your certification, maybe like Karen Durkee PMP or something like that, but keep it professional and recognizable that it's you. It will let you know when you try to customize it whether that URL has been taken or not, and you'll have to get a little more creative. Why do you want your URL to be clean looking? Well, you can share it. This is the top of my resume. I can put my LinkedIn URL up there. I could put it in my email signature. If you have transition business cards that you're sharing at networking events, you can put it there. So it just looks better when you share your LinkedIn URL if it's a nice, clean, customized one. And I do recommend adding it to the top of your the contact information on your resume. For your photo, another important part of real estate, if LinkedIn's your first social media site, you might not be comfortable putting your photo up, but it's highly recommended. You're much more likely to have your profile clicked on when you come up in someone's search or when they see you in a group. They'll see your photo, your profile photo follows you around whatever activity you're doing on LinkedIn, your photo will be there. And you're much more likely to get invitations to connect and have your invitations that you send out be accepted if you have a photo. It just helps you make a more personal connection with people on the site. So I don't recommend leaving it as the head and shoulders. It doesn't have to be a professionally portrait photo. But recommended if you have time to get a nice photo taken. Otherwise, just my first LinkedIn profile photo was just my husband took my picture against a blank wall. I was dressed professionally, I smiled, and that sufficed as my photo until I could get a nicer one taken. And that was just fine. It doesn't have to be professional, but it does need to show you looking professional And really, you want the recruiter to be able to picture you working at their company. So a lot of you have, if you're active duty still, you have your professional active duty photo. That's a great photo of you in uniform, but it doesn't let the recruiter picture you working at their company once you transition out. So I recommend using a civilian photo. And you can also add this open to work tag on your photo, and I'll show you how to add that if you want that to show up that you're in job seeker mode on your photo. Your headline is also something that follows you around on LinkedIn. So when someone sees you comment or post something on LinkedIn, or they see you in a group that you have in common, they'll see your photo, but they'll also see your headline. You get 120 characters, load that with the most relevant skills that you bring to the table. And really, you want to think about the skills that are most important to the job that you're seeking. And if you have those skills, be sure and put them in your profile. Also include what industry you're in and your area of expertise. All of that can be in your profile. In your headline. This headline does not have to be just your most recent job title. That's what LinkedIn will default to if you don't change your headline. It will just pull your most recent job experience and put that job title in as your headline. But you don't have to leave it as that. You can make your headline whatever you want. So I recommend putting a lot of information about the skills you seek. Don't just put that you're transitioning Army. That doesn't tell them enough. Be sure and put in there those skills in your area of expertise. Also, this, you can see this job seeker put in, or this LinkedIn user put in a profile. They call this the header image. That's good real estate too, where you can brand yourself more on your profile. People will only see your header image if they actually go visit your profile, but this is a great way to brand yourself as well. If you like to do a play around with graphics, you can use something like canva.com. That's what I use to do my header image. It's canva.com. It's a free online like graphic design website. And you can just put in LinkedIn header and it will let you create your own. Or just LinkedIn has a lot of free headers that you can choose from. So just Google free LinkedIn header images and you can find some free ones that you can pop in there. Make sure when you're doing your headline, you don't use a lot of the, fluff words that anybody could say. Be specific about the skills that you have and that you know are most relevant to the job that you're seeking. And that's what should go in your headline. Here's some headlines I saw that I liked. They really show people right up front in your headline what you bring to the table, what you're about. You could even put in there what position you're seeking. So give people as much information up front about you as possible. It's okay to use acronyms like this person used CISSP. If you know that the recruiters and the civilians who are looking at your profile will understand that acronym, then it's okay to use it. Don't use a lot of military acronyms that the civilian recruiters might not know what they are. Then you'll want to describe them more rather than just putting the acronym. But definitely any recruiter who's looking for a security professional is going to know what a CISSP is. So that's okay to use. So how do you know what keywords and phrases to put not only in your headline, but in your work experience section and the other sections, your about section? The first thing you can do, if you've already created your resume, you've got your skills and accomplishments listed there. So you can use that to get started. Also, start looking at job listings on LinkedIn. And this can really help you find out, even if you're not ready to apply to a job, search job listings and see what the recruiters listed for the required skills, the preferred skills. And those are going to be the crucial attributes that they're looking for to fill that position. So include those skills if you have them. So you're really, by searching the job listings, you're looking for um, the skills that are important to the job that you seek. And if you have those skills, you'll want to put those in your profile and also in your resume. Make sure they're in your resume as well. And this takes some homework to really search those job listings and figure out what's important to those jobs that you hope to hold. Um, and what you can do with those job listings is copy and paste all of the required skills and all of the job descriptions and put them into a word cloud generator. And if you copy and paste from a lot of different listings, then this word cloud generator will give you an image like this that shows you the largest words are the ones that came up the most in those job listings. So this is kind of a way to see what are the skills that are most important to the jobs that I seek. If you just Google word cloud generator, there's a lot of free ones out there that you can copy and paste in, and it will generate an image like this to kind of help you hone in on through all of those descriptions and list of required skills. It'll help you narrow down to what's happening the most often in those job listings. Also, searching people on LinkedIn. Um, Search for people that have the job title that you want and that work at the company where you want to work. And go to school on their LinkedIn profile. It's not stalking on LinkedIn, it's tactful online investigating. So don't be afraid to look for people on LinkedIn, click on their profile, see what they've put in their profile. And while you're there, if it looks like someone relevant to you, and if they have the job title you want and they work at a company you're interested in, I would say that's definitely someone you want to connect with. So while you're on their profile, you can invite them to connect. But don't just go to their profile for that. Scroll down their profile and see what do they have as their work experience? What certifications do they have? You can learn a lot from people on LinkedIn. And people don't mind you looking at their profile. I love it when someone looks at my profile. I hope they learn from it, and I hope they invite me to connect as well. So I want to go over to my LinkedIn account now and show you a couple of things that I've already talked about, and then I want to show you a few more things about using LinkedIn and beefing up your profile. Um, so on my LinkedIn profile, I just went to linkedin.com and I'm logged in. Under the Me tab, this is where I can find my settings and privacy that I mentioned. Make sure you click on that. There's a lot here you probably didn't even know was an option. So click on all of these tabs. For example, the sign in and security, you can add multiple email addresses to your LinkedIn account. One will be your primary. You can see here I've got my work address as my primary, but I've also attached my home email and another work email to my LinkedIn. That way, if someone's looking for me on LinkedIn and they have one of my other email addresses, they can still find me. My profile will come up because I've aligned all of my email addresses to LinkedIn. Don't create a separate LinkedIn account for a different email address that you have. You want just one LinkedIn account that covers all of you. So that's how your LinkedIn profile differs from your resume. With your resume, you can have multiple different versions of your resume tailored to the different jobs that you're applying to. With LinkedIn, you should just have one account. Don't split yourself into multiple accounts on LinkedIn. It's confusing to people, plus it does yourself and others a disservice because you won't get that exponential growth. And I'll show you what I mean by how your network really grows. Um, I'll show you that in a minute. But that's a reason that you really just want one LinkedIn account. If you think you might have multiple LinkedIn accounts, you can go to the LinkedIn Help Center and they'll help you combine them into one so that you don't lose any of your networks in any of the accounts. Just click on all of these. You might not have known that under data privacy, you can actually get a copy of your data. You can export all of your first degree connections and it'll export them into a CVS file that you can open in Excel. And if any of your connections have put that their email address is not private, it's public, then their email address will be in that Excel sheet as well. And you can also set your job seeker preferences from here. That's from the data privacy. So just be sure and explore all of this. I could do a whole webinar just on your settings and privacy. So I just want you to know where that is and that you really need to explore that. So back to my LinkedIn, I want to go over to my LinkedIn profile. So I'm going to click on the Me and click View Profile. And if you're logged in as you, it's going to take you to your own profile. And a couple things I already talked about. Here's where you can customize your profile URL. So click on this and it will let you change everything after that last slash and it will let you customize it. So you can then click on the pencil icon and go to customize the URL and you can take everything off after the last slash and make it whatever you want. Of course, I wouldn't put on there ukulele mama or something that wasn't professional. I've kept it my name. And again, you might have to get creative if your name isn't unique or if it's already taken. And then over here, you can see my header image. I made that on canva.com. I've got my profile photo. I've got my headline. Under here, this is where under the I am, this is where you can add that open to work tag on your photo. So if I click on I am and I choose looking for a job, it's going to open this up. And down here where I'm under visibility, who can see that I'm open to work? I can select it so that only recruiters see that I'm open to work, or I can put that open to work tag on my photo and let any LinkedIn member know. So I check this box and it would add that green open to work to my photo. And then you'd click save and it would save that. I'm not going to do it because I don't want my boss to panic that I'm looking for a job. You can also have this add profile section. So when you set up your account on LinkedIn, it steps you through adding your work experience, your education, some of those more default sections of your profile. But don't limit it to that. Click on add profile section and see what, make sure you've got your education section. You can add a position that's to your work experience. If you've, let's say you stopped working for a while, so you have a gap in your employment for whatever reason, you can add that as a career break. And that's where you can have a section of your profile where you explain maybe you were a caregiver or whatever reason that you had a career break. And then also on that career break, if you have that and you want to add that section, you can also in there put what you did while you were on that break. Maybe you worked on some certifications or you did some volunteer work. You can also make sure you added your skills section. That's where you can add skills to your profile. And what that's doing is making your profile more searchable on those skills. You can get recommendation. Okay, so the recommended section are even more sections that you can add. You can add a featured section where I'll show you that on mine. You can add maybe a license or a certification, add that section, a project you've worked on, courses you've taken. You can get recommendations from people on LinkedIn. I highly suggest, I recommend you get recommendations from people that they have to be in your first degree network, and asking for a recommendation from someone on LinkedIn. It's very simple. You can just click on add recommendations, put in what person that you want to request a recommendation from. Then it's going to send them a message from LinkedIn saying that you request a recommendation from them on LinkedIn for their profile, for your profile. Add a sentence. It lets you customize that default message that it will send to the person you're seeking a recommendation from. Add a sentence or two to customize that so that when they get the message from LinkedIn, it says something like, hey, I was wondering if you'd write a short recommendation for my LinkedIn profile and mention that big project we worked on. Something like that. Give them something that, let them know why you thought of them for a recommendation and what you were hoping they would mention in it. And it's very simple on their side. They get that message from LinkedIn. They click the link, they write a few sentences about you. It's not a big formal letter of recommendation. It's just a few sentences for your profile. And that is a great way to really show your expertise and show that other people have worked with you, and recruiters can see that on your profile and know that you have some clout. So I definitely recommend getting recommendations. And then open this there's additional sections as well. Your volunteer work, maybe you've done some community service work, add that section. And all of these, just go down and explore all of these. And again, I found these sections to add from this add profile section button on my own profile. You'll see that. Also under the more, you can save your profile to a PDF, and it actually gives you a really nicely formatted PDF that shows everything in your profile. So it's a nice PDF that you could share with people, but I use this to back up my profile. So if I'm going to be coming into LinkedIn and doing a lot of changes to my profile, I'll save my profile first to a PDF just to back it up. And then I'll go in and make all my changes. And that way, if I decide, I think I liked it better how I had my about section before, or I want to take some wording from that, then I have it saved in that PDF to refer to later. Some other sections, let me just scroll down. The about section, this is where you can tell your story. I recommend doing it in first person because it's you telling about yourself. And really include those most relevant skills up front in your about section. What happens is when someone's looking at your profile, your about section can be a lot longer, and mine is a lot longer, but you have to click the see more to see all of it. So make sure that you're putting your most important skills right up front in your about section. Don't start off with a lot of fluff, because if they don't click the see more, they're only going to see the first 3 or 4 lines of the section. But you can write a lot more than that in your about section. You could even at the bottom of it list your specialties. It's just another way that you're listing those skills that you bring to the table and make you more searchable. You can have this featured section where you might feature, here you can see I've featured my resume in my featured section, the book that I wrote, a link to an article. You could also feature, if you look here to, if you want to click the plus sign, you could feature a post, something that you posted in LinkedIn that you want to feature on your profile. You can actually write articles on LinkedIn and publish them there. Or links or media, like media would be like I've added the PDF of my resume. So any of those can be featured at the top of your profile. And then your experience section, you can see here under my work with Corporate Gray, I've also added some media there as well. To add media to any of your sections, just click on the pencil icon to go into your work experience, for example, and then I'll click on that work experience. And this will let me edit any of that. And then when I go down here, you see the media section. And that's where I can add that. I can add my resume. Now, if I had multiple versions of my resume, I could add 3 different versions of my resume and post them all here, or post them all in my About section. If I did do that, I would not name them Karen Durkee Resume 1, Karen Durkee Resume 2, Karen Durkee Resume 3, because people aren't going to know which one they're interested in viewing. Make sure any media that you upload, you describe it in the title. So I would title my resumes Karen Durkee Social Media Resume, Karen Durkee Program Management Resume, Karen Durkee Training Resume, and that way people know which thing they're interested in looking at. And when you do attach, for instance, your resume to your About section or any section of your profile, that is not searchable. So don't think that just attaching your resume to your profile takes the place of you having to type in your work experience and your education and your About section and having a skills section, because LinkedIn is not searching on you by what's in your resume. This really is just an image of the document that you uploaded. And don't let that take the place of you actually typing in and filling out your About section, your work experience section, and all of that. Then you'll have the education section. Let me go out of experience so I can show you a few more sections here. Here's my work experience. You can have your education section. You can change the order of these. You can drag them around just by editing that section. You could have, the community service section, the skills section. Now you can add, I think it's up to 50. No, I think it's 50 skills that you can have. And then it might not be when people endorse you. Now, skill endorsement is not the same as recommendation. For someone to endorse me for a skill, they just need to be in my first degree network and they go to my profile and click endorse next to my skills. I might not have ever worked with them. They're just doing it to be nice. It does not hold as much weight as an actual recommendation that someone writes for you on your profile, where they've actually worked with you and they're writing a few sentences about you. So don't get too hung up on getting skill endorsements. But if you do have a lot of endorsements from people, those skills might be moved to the top of your skills section, but maybe it's not a skill that you want to highlight. So you can change the order of your skills. When people go to your profile, they're only going to see the first 3 skills, the top ones that you pin to the top of your skills list. And then they would have to go to see more. They're probably not going to do that. It's good to list more than 3 skills, even though people won't see them because it makes you searchable on LinkedIn. But be sure to go in here and pin your top 3 skills to the top of your skills list so that those are the ones people see when they're just scrolling through your profile. And then once you've given or gotten a recommendation on LinkedIn, then you'll have this recommendation section. It'll be added to your profile and you'll be able to go in and edit it. And you can also give recommendations. So you don't have to wait until someone, you don't have to solicit recommendations. What you can do is, I'll go back to the top here. If I was on someone else's profile, so if you go to someone's profile who's in your first degree network and you click on the more on their profile, you will see an option for give recommendation, and you can actually give that person a recommendation for their LinkedIn profile. You don't have to wait for them to ask you. And then law of reciprocity, hopefully then they will appreciate that and they will give you a recommendation back. So you can give recommendations as well as get them, but it has to be with people in your first degree network. And we'll talk about the degrees in a few minutes. So I've showed you a lot of ways to beef up your profile. I want to show you one more thing because one of the things I talked about when I talked about how to figure out what skills are most important to put in your profile and on your resume is doing that people search and look for people on LinkedIn that are relevant to you. For instance, let's say I really want to work at Raytheon. So I put Raytheon in the search box on LinkedIn, and it'll come up and show me, of course, Raytheon's company page, and I'll follow that while I'm at it. But I want to change this to a people search. So you have all these options of searching jobs on Raytheon. You can search for different company listings on Raytheon. I'm going to search, and there's groups as well and schools, but let's change it to a people search for this one because I want to show you how to hone in on employees at Raytheon who can be a great help to your job search. You can learn a lot of information from, insider information from employees at the companies you're interested in. So how do you find those people? Well, if I just search for people that have Raytheon in their profile, I get 165,000 results. So that's not that helpful. So I'm going to click here for all filters. And I want to show you a few things. So I could just look for people, if I have a big network already, I could just search for people who work there in my first degree. But if you don't have a big network yet, don't limit it to your connections, because then you won't get many returned. Locations. So since Raytheon's such a large company, I could just limit it to people who are located near me. For current company, now I want to click on Raytheon because now it's going to filter it by just people who currently work at Raytheon. And that's what I want. This is my favorite filter, past company, because now I can not only filter the search by people who currently work at Raytheon, but I could filter them by, you see United States Air Force is here, and I could also select Army. So now it's going to filter it by people who currently work at Raytheon, who as a past company listed either Air Force or Army. Or maybe I'm in the Navy and I want to find fellow Navy. So I could put in US Navy and select that. So if it's not an option, you can click Add Company and find it. So now it's going to search people currently at Raytheon who used to be either in the Navy, Army, or Air Force. At least that's what they've listed as a prior company. Now, it could be they were a civilian working for the Air Force, for example, but most likely this is going to be a fellow military veteran. And military veterans are so likely to be willing to help you with your transition and your job search. They've been through the transition. Just like in 5 years from now, when you're out working for a company and someone who's transitioning from the military contacts you and says, hey, I'm really interested in working at your company. Do you have any advice for me? Think about that. You'll be very willing to offer them some advice. You've been through the transition and you're willing to help them. And that's all you're looking to connect with people for. For right now, I'm just showing you how to find people who might be good to kind of go to school on and see what's in their profile and learn how to build your profile up. But this is also a great way to find people that you should be inviting to join your network and reaching out to them, not for a job, no pressure. You're not looking, you don't want to ask them for a job or connecting you with a job. You want to reach out to them, ask them to join your network, let them know you're transitioning, and do they have any advice for your transition, or how do they like working at the company? Tell them you're interested in that company. What's the culture like? How do they like their position at that company? How did they get the job at their company? Any advice that they can share, really, you're asking them for their insights. So let me just scroll down and show you a few more filters. You can also here do it by job title. So that's a great way to search on people who have the job title at that company that you'd like to have. And so I'm just going to click on show results. and it should narrow it down for me. So that narrowed the search down, and now I'm really honing in on people who currently work at Raytheon, who used to be in either the Navy, Army, or Air Force, most likely. And I could have put in job title or even more filters. And also I did the Washington, D.C. area as well. So now I can, if they're in my first degree network, I could message them. This would say message, and I'd be able to message them. Or I can click on connect and invite them to connect since this person is in my second degree. And if I click on connect, add a note to that invitation. Let them know why you're relevant to them. Hey, I'm transitioning from the military in a couple months. Really interested in your company. Would love to get your insights about working there. So you can add a sentence or two. You get 300 characters, and then send the invitation to connect. Your invitations to connect are much more likely to be accepted if you have a good headline, so they can see in your headline that that you're relevant to them. Also, you have a friendly looking photo, professional and friendly looking. And also if you've customized the invitation and said something to let them know why you're inviting them to join your network. And then also you can click on their profile and go to their profile and view it and see what they've got, what's their education, do they have any certifications, especially if they're in the job that you'd like, or a similar job, then really go to school on them for what you should have in your profile. So I'm going to go back to my slides now. And so I showed you a lot about what you can do to really beef up your profile. But it's not just about what's in your profile, it's also about your activity on LinkedIn. So you post about your job search, say some positive things about your job search, reminding your network that you're in job search mode, and you can use these hashtags to make it more of these are kind of trending topics on LinkedIn. So if you put those types of hashtags at the end of your post, it's more likely to be seen by more people. Also, post links to industry articles. You don't have to have written the article to share the article and start looking like an expert in your industry just by sharing articles that other people have written. Start doing that, and it really starts to make you look like an expert in your industry, and people will see, hey, they do a lot of reading about the industry and they're sharing a lot of good stuff. You can also, I mentioned this earlier, you can write an article and publish it on LinkedIn. So when you're on your homepage and you click start a post, you could instead click on write an article, and it will actually let you publish an article. Make sure it's something that you've written that you're allowed to share. Maybe you've written a white paper about your industry. And you can share that on LinkedIn as well. You could also share that as a PDF, save it as a PDF and put it on your profile too. To really start, maybe you've done a big presentation, you could save that PowerPoint as a PDF and put that on your profile as well, attach it as media. Just make sure that everything you put on your profile and that you share on LinkedIn, you're allowed to share. And you have permission to share. And of course, nothing cleared or anything like that. Also, just liking or commenting on what someone else has posted on LinkedIn or sharing it. That's a great way to get on people's radar. I love it when someone likes or shares what I've posted. Makes me feel good, and also it puts that person on my radar. I see, hey, that person liked what I put. Maybe I'd reach out to connect with them then. So if you're not comfortable posting yet on LinkedIn, just start liking and commenting on other people's posts. The LinkedIn app has a few additional features. So I definitely recommend downloading the LinkedIn app if you haven't done it already. If you're going to be making a lot of changes to your profile or you're brand new to LinkedIn, I would go to LinkedIn from your browser on your computer. It's a lot easier to navigate from there than from the app. But the app is great just for keeping up with LinkedIn on your phone. Maybe you're waiting on the metro or you're standing in line at the grocery or something. You can pull up your LinkedIn and have some activity on it. But one of the things the app has that the browser on your computer won't have is you can record a cover story. So you click this this plus sign, and it will let you like have a video, a quick 30-second video intro of yourself, and it will attach it to your profile photo so that when someone goes to your profile, they'll see your video, just a quick video telling what you bring to the table, you know, what you're about. You can add that to your profile from the app. You can also do add a voice pronunciation if your name is hard to pronounce. I love this. I found this. Someone posted Tommy Boy on LinkedIn. They have since LinkedIn found out and took it down, but I got a screenshot of it before they did that. But anyway, if you have, it shows you the speaker that it will show someone, and it will be you recording how you pronounce your name for someone in case you have a hard to pronounce name. And then also your QR code is on the app, and why that is useful. So if you click on the app, on the mobile app, click in the search box, and this comment will change to a QR code when your cursor is in the search box. Click on that QR code, and what it will come up with your QR code that points people to your LinkedIn profile. And so if you're at a networking event, this is a great way to get people into your network that you're meeting in person. Pull out your phone on the mobile app, pull up your QR code, and you can either share it with them or you can scan theirs from their mobile app. You can also download it and save it to your photo gallery to share, you know, with people in that aren't on the app. So I recommend doing that. Find that on your mobile app and use that at networking events to connect with people and get people that you meet at the networking event. You're meeting them in person. Now bring them into your LinkedIn network so that you can easily follow up with them later. Now let's talk about getting connected and building that network. And also, you know, so on what we've talked about already is your profile, your presence on LinkedIn, making content on LinkedIn. But now we're talking about engagement with the network. Why build a network? And I'm talking about a relevant network on LinkedIn. These are people who you can help on LinkedIn, and they can help you connect with them. They can help with your job search. And they can also possibly refer you. So a huge way to get the interview is by being a referral to a company from one of their employees. So by networking through LinkedIn, you can also be seeing if people can refer you to their company. You're much more likely to get an interview if you've been referred by an employee to the company. I mentioned this at the beginning that on the Corporate Grey Job Fair page, when we list the companies that are going to be attending our job fair, we also have this LinkedIn network link. That's because we can't stress enough how important it is for you to reach out on LinkedIn to people that work in the company that you're interested in working for before you come to the job fair. Connect with these people and ask them for advice. Also find friends and family, colleagues, fellow veterans, like I showed you how to do that search for fellow veterans. You can also just find industry leaders, maybe the president of Raytheon. or some vice presidents there. Connect with them. You can invite them to connect, or you can follow them. If they don't have an invite link available, you can follow them and you'll still be in the loop on what they're posting on LinkedIn. And then company employees, I've mentioned that several times, very important resource. The people who work at the company that you're interested in working for, connect with them on LinkedIn. And then company recruiters, some company recruiters will have this tag on their photo similar to what a job seeker can have so that you can see who's a recruiter. And I want to stress it's about connecting with relevant people on LinkedIn. It's not about how big your network is. Keep it relevant, and it will grow exponentially. So you just want to make sure you start building a relevant network. Your first degree are the people that you invite. For instance, if you do that people search for current company and then past companies to find fellow veterans that work at the company you're interested in, do that people search, and those are going to be people who are relevant to your network, and you're relevant to joining their network as well. So keep it relevant. And when you customize that invitation to connect, let them know why you're relevant. Why are you inviting them to your network? And don't make it, I want you to hire me, or I want you to help me get a job. Just request their advice. You're looking for their advice, for insights on their company. Don't put them under any pressure. So here's an example. Hi, I'm transitioning from the Army in a couple months. I'd like to connect with you and learn more about your program management experience. Put in there that you've done your homework on them, put in something about them and how you're interested about their company, and ask them for their insights. Put in a question there so that they'll invite you to connect, and then they can answer your question when they see your message. The connections, your first degree connections, are people that you've invited to join your network on LinkedIn and they've accepted, or vice versa. They invited you and you accepted. Then you are now in their first degree and they're in your first degree. And those are people you can message now on LinkedIn. Second degree connections are the people who are connected to your first degree connections, but they're not in your first degree. Then they're now in your second degree. And that's great because people who are in your second degree, you can invite them to connect and come into your first degree. And then third degree, it goes on, people who are in your second degree connections, they're connected with those people. Third degree connections, usually you can't invite them to connect, but sometimes you can if they have an open network, they have an upgraded account that's open to all. But you can still look at their profile, and you can also follow people on LinkedIn. If you see someone in your third degree that you want to connect with or send a message to, but LinkedIn doesn't let you, or they're not in your network at all, they're out of your network, you can send them an in-mail. If you have that premium account, you get so many in-mails a month free, or if you don't have the premium account, you can buy an in-mail. And an in-mail is like just sending them a message within LinkedIn, but you have to pay for it because they're not in your network. So you have that option as well. And so here's how it works. This is you. Your first degree network are directly connected to you. And then your second degree network are connected to them. And LinkedIn says if you have 170 people in your first degree network, you're most likely going to have about 26,000 in your second degree. So you see what I mean by it grows exponentially. Your third degree is going to be about 2 million. So, and if you join groups, it's even more than that. Because groups kind of are like they're in your second degree. If you're in a group with someone, a fellow group member is someone that you can message and invite to connect through that group. So you see how it grows exponentially. The first degree is what you control. So that's why I say keep your first degree, keep your invitations relevant. From your network link on LinkedIn, this is where you can see if you've got any invitations pending. Don't just leave them pending. Um, Take action and either click ignore if the person isn't relevant to you, or click accept. If you click ignore, they don't see, hey, Karen dissed you. You know, they're not going to get a message. You just drop off their radar. The invitation goes away. It's fine to ignore, and I've done it. If I get an invitation from someone, I like when I get an invitation and I can tell right from their headline here why they're relevant to me. This is someone I would definitely accept. I can see that they're in recruiting. Anyone who's in recruiting or talent acquisition, or anyone I can tell from your headline that you're in the military, or you're a veteran or a military spouse, that's a no-brainer for me. I'm going to accept you into my network because that's the type of network that's relevant to me. If I can't tell from your headline, then I might be a little irritated because now I've got to go to your profile and see if you're relevant to me or not. So let people know in the headline, or even better, if this person had given me a customized invitation, I would see what she wrote to me, and that's even better. And then I just can accept. But if I can't tell why they're relevant, I'll go to their profile, um, and see, and if I still don't see that they're relevant to my network, then I will go back here and click ignore. And I'm not afraid to do that. It's fine. I'm keeping my network relevant, and that's the way I think it should be. But don't just leave it pending, because then you do stay on their radar and they'll see that you haven't accepted or gotten rid of it yet. Either ignore or accept. Also on this My Network tab, LinkedIn will offer suggestions for you. And if you've got your profile really beefed up and working well, search optimized by the right keywords, then these suggestions for who you might want to connect to will be spot on. And I find whatever algorithm they're using from my profile and from my activity on LinkedIn, they seem to find people that I would want to connect with. But don't click connect here from their list of suggestions, because this won't let you customize your invitation. Click on their name, that will take you over to their profile, and that will let you customize it. So I think this is the only place, the list of suggestions, where clicking connect just automatically sends the default message. If you go to their profile, or if they come up in one of your searches, then that connect button does let you customize your invitation to them. LinkedIn groups are a great way to connect with like-minded people on LinkedIn. Look for groups in your industry. Just like I showed you that people search, put in, for instance, in the search box, you could put in military, transitioning military, or military transition, and then run a search for groups instead of people. And it will come up with, there are a lot of groups for transitioning military, and there's career counselors in those groups that will help answer your questions on your transition. But also recruiters will join those groups, recruiters who are looking to hire military experienced people. They'll be in those groups as well, looking for transitioning military. So those are great groups. Industry groups, look for groups for your military association. There's also, I mean, there's a group for everyone. There's stay-at-home mom groups on LinkedIn. There's a group for everyone, whether it's your hobby, your interest, or your industry. Beyond LinkedIn, while we're talking about networking, I just want to mention, if you are, for instance, already on Facebook and you've been using Facebook for a while, start using that for your job search. You've already got a friends and family network built up on Facebook. Start posting on Facebook about your job search. and let your friends and family network know. Remind them that you're transitioning and let them know what companies you're interested in. Just post about it. So use your other social media sites besides LinkedIn. Vetfriends.com is a website that has a big database of military colleagues. So you can create an account there, and then it will let you search for people who are veterans, and it will let you search by their job title, by their branch of service, by the rank they held when they got out. And that's a great way to connect with fellow veterans as well. Military associations, alumni, and also look for fellow alumni on LinkedIn. You can do a search for people based on what school they went to. And then you can invite them to connect and say, hey, I went to Boston University. I'm really interested in working at your company. Would love to get your insights about how you like working there or how you landed a job there. And then a lot of military spouse networks. And there's groups on LinkedIn for military spouses as well to help you get a job. On the LinkedIn handout, there is a complete list. The second page gives you an even broader list of suggestions for networking. The last thing I want to talk about is finding those job opportunities on LinkedIn. So the jobs tab on your LinkedIn profile, explore it. It has so much great information for your job search. It's not just for searching jobs. You might not have known it's got this interview prep link. And if you go to their interview prep, they show you videos that suggest how to answer the most common interview questions. I mean, and more. They've got salary information. I mean, just explore everything on the jobs tab because it's a lot more than just searching for jobs on LinkedIn. Also, it will list jobs that it recommends for you and companies that it recommends for you on LinkedIn that you might not have even heard of. But because you've put your skills in your profile, then their algorithm's going to come up with matches and suggest companies and jobs for you that are, as long as your profile is beefed up and you've really got the right skills in there for the job you're looking for, then LinkedIn's recommended jobs and companies are going to be a good match. And you might not have ever known that company was out there or that type of job was out there. So make sure you look at the recommendations from LinkedIn. Also on the jobs page, it's going to let you do a job search, of course, but apply more filters. Anytime you see this all filters, be sure and click on it because it will let you apply even more filters than just job title and location. And then you can look through the list of returned jobs. And if it looks like that was a good search, turn the job alert on and that will, it saves that search for running later for you. And then you can look at the jobs, you can save a job to apply to later, or you can apply to it right through LinkedIn. And it will also show you who you're connected to. And sometimes if the recruiter checked the box when they posted the job that allows LinkedIn to show who posted it, you'll also see what recruiter posted that job. And you can send them an email or invite them to connect if they're in your network. One of the benefits of having that upgraded account that I mentioned, that premium account that LinkedIn's offering to veterans and transitioning military and military spouses as well, is you get a lot more insight. If you're applying to a job through LinkedIn, it gives you a lot more insight about the job and how you match up compared to other applicants. Also do company searches. Go to that company that you're interested in, go to their LinkedIn page, follow them, so that when the company posts things, you'll see it in your news feed, and just learn more about the company. Also see who you're connected to there and reach out to them. This reminds you of who's in your network at that company. Reach out to them again. I've said it like 4 different times on this webinar, but I can't stress it enough. 2 things that I really hope you got from this that I'm stressing is reach out to people who who are in your network and they work at the company you're interested in to get more information, some insider information and advice for your job search. And the other thing, reach out to fellow veterans who are in the industry you're going to be working in, and they're at the company you're interested in. They're so willing to help you. So some of my top tips, you'll find these posted on our blog as well. Don't just set your profile and forget it. It's like your resume, you're constantly improving on it. And also be active on LinkedIn as well. Post things, post content, share, comment, join groups. Don't set it and forget it. The only thing you set and forget is if you customize your LinkedIn profile URL. You know how I showed you after the last slash, mine says Karen Durkee, and that's the URL I customized to point to my profile. Once I've set that and I've saved it, don't change it again, because once you start sharing that, if you change it later, then the link you shared originally is broken. So that's the only thing on your LinkedIn that you set and forget and leave it. I think we covered all of these. Let me just make sure. This number 7, research the companies, and you can use LinkedIn, but also go to the company's website, use Corporate Gray's list of attending employers to help you do your research before you come to a job fair or before you have an interview with the company. And really be prepared then when you're talking with the recruiters to let them know how your skills fill their needs. Even apply to the jobs ahead of time. And that way, when you come to the job fair or you come to the interview, you probably did apply ahead of time. But when you come to a job fair, you're prepared to tell that recruiter, hey, I've already applied to this job on your job board, and here's why I'm a good match for it. Here's what skills I think that job is seeking. And do the homework for the recruiters so that you really come prepared, and LinkedIn can help you do that, some of that preparation. I hope you'll use Corporate Gray Online for your job search. Recruiters are searching our database of resumes to find military experience candidates. Civilians can also have a Corporate Gray Online account and upload your resume, military spouses as well. So we hope you'll create a free account on corporategray.com, upload your resume. It's another way to be found by recruiters who are seeking your skills. We also have a lot of transition advice. So if you look on the menu bar of Corporate Gray, we've got our whole online transition guide. This has, it steps you through your transition with a lot of helpful links and resources. We have an education page. Our blog has a lot of helpful articles to help you with your job search, as well as our newsletter has a lot of information too to help you with your job search and transition. I'm going to go over to the chat box now. Please, if you have any questions, go ahead and type it in the chat box. And I'm happy to answer your questions. I'm going to paste all of the links that I pasted earlier back in the chat box, because if anyone came on after I posted those, you might not see them. So these are the links I talked about. My email is there. Please reach out to me after the webinar if you have any questions. Happy to help you with your LinkedIn. a link to our job fairs calendar I put in the chat box. The LinkedIn Veterans page can be very helpful, so I put that link in there. Also, a link to download the handout for today's class is in there. And a link to our free transition guide, our ebook version of the guide. That can be very helpful for your transition. Lots of great resources there. And this recording is going to be on our YouTube channel, so I put that link in there as well. Thank you for the great feedback. I'm glad you found this helpful. And I'm going to stop the recording, but I'll stay on a few more minutes in case anyone has any questions or wants me to review anything. Again, thank you so much, and I wish everyone the best of luck with your job search. And I hope to see you at a Corporate Gray event. Thanks, everyone.